This podcast contains adult themes, explicit language, and the kind of conversations your browser history would rather forget. Listener discretion is advised, and curiosity is highly encouraged.
Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. I could beatbox if you want.
We are your kindly sex detectives, ready to guide you through every "what the hell did I just watch" question you have.
Matt is a mental health practitioner with over 3 decades of self-appreciation under his belt.
And Bea is an accredited psychosexual therapist who's seen it all, heard it all, and at this point, the algorithm is afraid of her next search.
I have a dick in my mouth right now. So, we're talking about bukkake, which is, what is it, the human donut? I don't know. Is it?
What?
The human donut. Getting glazed. It's not just the hole, it's any hole that's the goal.
What? Isn't bukkake like specifically like on the face area and in the mouth?
Yes. Tell me everything.
So the origin of the word bukkake actually just means to splash in Japanese, and it didn't start out as a word that was sexual at all.
To splash. Does the sound effect help?
Oh man, that really sold it for me. Now I know exactly what you're talking about.
The genre of bukkake emerged around the 1980s in Japan. It was to combat censorship laws in Japan where they couldn't show genitals. And it was a creative way to allow people to watch pornography because they were allowed to show semen, but they couldn't show genitals. So clever. And even when they're like penetrating, it's all pixelated dicks coming. And then it was picked up by a porn producer in the US around 1999. And then they started making titles like American Bukkake and series that followed that. And it really took off. So there's about probably a 10 to 15 year gap between when it was big in Japan and then it was big in the United States. Bukkake typically depicts one person of miscellaneous gender being ejaculated on by several people of a miscellaneous gender. What we see most often is cis males because it's dicks, but there's lesbian pornography featuring women squirting on either a woman or several women or, again, person of nondescript gender, whoever would like to be in the middle of that.
Whoever wants to be the centerpiece of that party. Like a donut on a rack just getting glazed by multiple glaziers.
It doesn't necessarily need to involve any penetrative sex, oral sex, anal sex, none of it. It can literally just be a group of people masturbating on another person, ejaculating on their face. The donut analogy is going to be consistent throughout this. There's a bunch of theories about where it came from, but there's nothing concrete. There's no real evidence. There's no research backing it up. One of them is that it was a punishment in feudal Japan for women who were found to be cheating or they were accused of it. Another one is that it's a fertility ritual taking place after a wedding, and the bride was covered with sperm by all the people invited to the wedding. In this way, they turned the bride into an adult woman, no longer a child, with all the rights and duties that came from this change of status, and it basically wished them a long and prosperous marriage. I can think of better gifts.
So it's kind of like a lot of hearsay because there's not really any sort of concrete evidence to prove where it originated or why.
Like there's historians that talk about it being a practice around the 13th century, but you know, as we know, not a lot of evidence survives when it's that. There's a skeleton being brought up and they're like, that's a lot of
It's a skeleton and they're like down on their knees holding their hands to their face with their mouth open being like, yes, please, daddy. So what's interesting is that when the West did adopt bukkake porn, they borrowed the word from the Japanese and the aesthetic, but they didn't tell the real story behind it, the censorship, economics and the law, which, as we know, is cultural appropriation in action. And that kind of reflects the Orientalist storytelling in that the West likes to imagine Japan as a sexually extreme and exotic place. And we know that these kind of myths feed stereotypes and reinforce fetishization and objectification especially when it comes to Asian women. Like they haven't come up with their own name for it.
Yeah, much like tantric sex.
And Kama Sutra.
Yeah, Kama Sutra, Tantra, all of those words are cultural appropriation of something that we've kind of taken and we have fetishized.
Whoa, that's so unlike Westerners to just take things and colonize them.
And then not worry about how they continue to affect the cultures we stole it from.
Crazy. Anyway, that was our rant about colonialism.
I think we still see it perpetuated. You see a lot of this type of pornography featuring Asian women and like making sure that it's in the title. And it's now synonymous with Japanese porn, as though Japan created it. And yeah, in a way that they did, but it was initially created for the purpose of managing those censorship issues, not for the fetishization of women or the subjugation, anything like that. It was to make semen more visible for the people who were typically consuming porn, which at the time, during the 80s, were men.
Sorry, I just read the bit that said there's a unique category of male performers called shirudanyu, meaning juice actor, and their main role was to ejaculate on cue in group scenes such as bukkake.
What a job.
Right?
And also the stress. Can you imagine? Ejaculate on cue. How do you train for that?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I've done a lot of training and it's still not something that I could do. Like,
I don't know if
like
I'd
I'm pretty
call what
good.
You do training.
But hey, look, you know what? If you do something consistently and with precision and passion, I think that would be considered training, okay?
That's fair. Practice does make perfect. So juice actors and the working conditions of juice actors. This was a fun thing to learn. A fun fact that I was not expecting to find so fun. And it's basically that pay's not great compared to principal actors or female performers. We don't see their face. It's about their dick. However, they don't engage in penetrative sex on camera. They have to have a reliable erection, significant stamina, and the ability to perform ejaculations repeatedly with team coordination. I'm sorry, tell me more about this sport. Yeah. Sorry, the Olympics are calling.
Have you seen that movie where they're filming porn and then they go stunt cock and they get the paid actor to jump in and like do the money shot?
Literally, it is a stunt cock. So because of the number of people that need to perform these repeated ejaculations, there's an organized labor pool specifically tasked with producing semen in genres like bukkake. So basically you can call an agent and be like, we need 30 dudes, all of them with the capacity to stay hard for hours on end because there's long filming hours. They have to wait off camera until called and then immediately perform with synchronicity. They walk in and they're like, stunt cock. And then the cock comes in and goes, I'm ready. I mean, would it work well for someone with rapid ejaculation disorder? I don't know. Maybe. The anxiety would probably make it worse, which is fantastic because it's where the money shot is. So the money shot, as all of us know, is the most expensive shot in pornography. It has to happen. It's the part of porn where we rate whether or not the sex has been good. Porn borrowed the term of the money shot in the 1970s. So prior to that, it could have gone on for ages. Maybe someone didn't come. Like, we didn't really have films the same way. So pornography hadn't had like an established narrative throughout it. In the 1970s, ejaculation became ultimate proof of climax. It's the visual clue that the scene had reached an end, which means that this belief system that we have nowadays where people are like, well, if I didn't come, then it wasn't good. Or how do I know it's over if I didn't come? Is because in the 1970s, someone was like, stunt cock, get in here.
Get in here and bust your nut right on time.
Yeah, they'll know. That'll be the visual cue and everyone will stop. And we've internalized it as the thing that makes us like have healthy sex. That's our standard now. It's that sense of enjoying a sense of closure and finality about sex, which we see in a lot of heterosexual sexual relationships where it's like, sex stops when I come, or if I can't come, we just don't bother going any further because this is the marker of where, you know, we recognize sex ends and it means it's been good. So the reason that they started making it in the US, do you know much about that?
I believe it had something to do with the cost of production. Being able to only have to hire one female talent and a bunch of other male talent. You didn't have to show anything of the male talent other than their dicks and their semen. So, I mean, you probably didn't have to pay them a lot. The female talent that was actually the one who got most of the accolades, no pun intended. Some might say she was paid loads.
I hate you. I hate you for saying it. I hate you for making me laugh at it.
That's what I do. That's why I'm here.
I was reading a quote from the guy who actually produced the first bukkake films in the US, and he was talking about why he produced it, what was going on with it and everything. And he's saying, I'm not turned off by cum shots, but I'm not turned on by them. But this was a train wreck to watch. You can't take your eyes off it. And that is why he chose to create it. He was just like, it's a shit show.
So he kind of knew that perhaps Western culture would really take to this because it is quite extreme.
I think this is a good place for us to talk about the difference between Japanese and Westernized bukkake because they're so different. Japanese bukkake is typically not featured on female enjoyment or pleasure cues. It's much more leaning into that humiliation aspect. Whereas when we look at Western versions of it, it's supposed to be complementary, as well as being a form of dominance and submission and all of the other themes that we see. Within bukkake, semen is not about making babies, it's about making a hedonistic scene. So the waste of it is pure hedonism.
It's like there's an abundance of it. We have that much of it to give out, everyone gets some. Well, the one person in the middle. It's kind of like, you're the Oprah of cum. You get a cum and you get a cum and you get a cum, but it's just one person.
Does that make it an Oprah of cum then? Because not everyone's getting a car.
Really killed my analogy there, yep.
I'm so sorry. But the actual act of like the bukkake and the hedonism, when we look at how religion feeds into don't masturbate, no nut, don't waste your seed, this act is excess and indulgent, and it's a celebration of pleasure without procreation. It's basically going, we're not doing this shame-based.
So I think what we were saying is that for some viewers, that excess is what makes it appealing. It's the kind of male potency in a surplus.
Male potency.
Mediocre male potency.
So there's psychological reasons why people do it. And like we said, there's humiliation and there's degradation. And then there's the female objectification that occurs, like that person in the middle. Ritual humiliation of symbolic group rape was one of the ones that I saw come up from researchers, not people using it. There's an article, Naked Aggression, the Meaning and Practice of Ejaculation on a Woman's Face, talks about a study done where they interviewed a bunch of men and did a phenomenological study on why. So that's basically where they talk to somebody at length about why they do what they do and what they get out of it.
What kind of themes were there?
Male dominance and sexual aggression, wanting to engage in it despite their general belief that the woman would not be interested.
So it's drawing, parallels with consensual non-consent in a sense that obviously these scenes have to be consensual, but there is that theme of, maybe the woman isn't really into it and this is kind of like a punishment or humiliation.
A lot of comments from men talking about wanting to do this with their partners, but then not feeling comfortable to bring that into reality because they didn't actually want that many other men in the room doing that. So you've got that sperm competition theory and that emasculating presence and the competition between men coming up. And then there was comments from women, quite a lot of them being like, I enjoy being ejaculated on, I be eating cum, being glazed, all of these experiences, but then nothing really talking about the why of that. Like, what is it that brings you to that space that you really enjoy about it? Is it humiliation? Is it the degradation? Is it watching a bunch of people find you so attractive that they all feel like they have to come?
I think Pornhub really needs to step up their comment section and put some categories in there like, hey, what was it about this video that you enjoyed? Why did you like it? Why didn't you like it? What turned you on, etc., etc. They could start doing some real research there in the comment section.
So the content that we're looking at, bukkake is something typically that we see happen more often with cis men more than we do with cis women, and there's not a lot of research or information about when it happens with any other rainbow friends. So a lot more of the research looks at traditional masculine scripts of dominance, control, and spectacle, specifically because it blurs the line between collaboration and competition. So they're both working as a team and competing and measuring themselves and measuring their load and all of the things that are happening. So it's a real psychological battlefield for these 5 to 45 men who are working together for their one performer.
Yeah, it honestly sounds like a pretty high stress environment.
Doesn't it? You are put in front of a group of other men, and we know typically men do compare themselves. There's a lot of masculine competition that goes on.
Oh yeah, it'd be a massive dick measuring competition for sure.
And not just dick measuring, but like the stamina, the ability to climax on cue, the size of the climax that you have. It's almost a way for some of these men to affirm masculinity by being the most on point, the most reliable.
The most reliable stunt cock.
It's an interesting thing because we're talking about conformity, but we're also talking about competition. And then there's the risk of exclusion if you're not doing well, like the massive amounts of shame you now feel. You're excluded from this group of people. You are not accepted as having the capacity to do this, and your masculinity is called into question. So even the concept of bukkake being a premise of humiliation, objectification, and like symbolic group degradation, doesn't matter who it is. Even in gay porn, the person in the middle is being degraded, symbolically stripped of masculine authority, placed in a passive receiving role, and feminized. I mean, there's obviously a lot of different perspectives around it and a lot of cultural differences that are occurring as well. There's perspectives that the person in the middle is handing over their sexual agency because they are simply just receiving.
They're the receptacle.
And they don't have a lot of control over what's happening, kind of emphasizing the dominance and submission, even crushing an individual under collectivist action, which is, oh God.
Speak to that some more.
Oh my God, how crazy though, fascinating when we think about how wider society is often, you as an individual and your individual needs are often lost to what society needs you to do. This is similar in that way, where you've got an uneven power dynamic, somebody who is handing over their agency as a person to receive whatever they can, and they better be happy about it. And it's performative in opening their mouth or being a positive, pleasurable, willing receptacle of that. It's a celebration. It's like, come on me, give me more. I am trying to make this something that makes me feel attractive, makes me feel empowered. And so we flip the script. There's a few comments from women saying it makes them feel attractive, powerful to know that they can make that many men feel sexual desire and want to come.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of empowerment in knowing that you have the power to make these people come. It's not super difficult to make a man come. But at the same time, I think it has a pretty significant impact on their sense of self or their self-esteem. This is actually probably boosting their self-esteem in some regard because they are feeling empowered and they're feeling sexy and they're feeling objectified in a positive way.
Yeah. I appreciate what you're saying. There's almost like a taking back of control. In wider society, women are sexually objectified and sexual agency is taken away in a lot of realms. And then to be in that position, to choose to be there, there is a return of empowerment and sexual agency that may be more about trying to re-grasp that more than wanting to be sexually attractive, because then we're centering the male gaze or the male glaze.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from now.
I think the reason it's worth talking about is because so far we have talked about the perspective of the person doing the giving and less about the person doing the receiving. And
if you were in that position, what would be going through your mind?
Fuck, I hope this is condensed milk.
I mean, it's not a position that I think I'd ever find myself in. But if we're speaking hypothetically, I think I'd probably just enjoy the scene. Just kind of be like, I feel pretty blessed. That's not the
Hashtag
word I was
blessed.
looking for. I feel
Blessed with
pretty
the
honoured
best.
to have
Oh,
people,
wow.
to see me in a way where they think I could come to this.
Look at this pretty boy.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to wear glasses because I don't really want pink eye.
I would have goggles. I'd be in a comfortable position. I'd be laying on my back. I'd probably have like a little bit of a neck pillow. I'd definitely have
I'm
goggles on.
picturing you in like a hazmat suit that's just got the face cut out.
Yeah, I'm a minion.
I can never watch the Minions the same ever again now.
I'm just out there. I've got my little hazmat suit on. I'm ready to perform villainous acts. Just incoherent babble towards them while it's happening. No one's coming. No one's coming to that. If you or a loved one, a partner, a friend, your family at the barbecue that you're having, decide that you want to engage in some type of bukkake, let's talk about how to do it.
If this is something that you have seen in porn and you've kind of thought to yourself, you know what, this is something I'd really like to give a crack, it's important to remember that the porn you watch and the expectations that you get from that is not necessarily going to translate into real life. If it's something that you do want to try, there's a few things that we need to talk about first, including the myths. We have heard a lot of men say to their female partners, oh, babe, but if I come on your face, you won't have to worry about going through your skincare routine. But we also know that that's not true.
If anything, you need to go through it again.
You gotta wash that shit off first.
It's wrong. It doesn't improve your skin. If someone is saying you should be letting me do this because your skin's going to be really nice, first of all, it's not true.
Direct them to this podcast and tell them that they need to have a listen.
And also probably direct them to some evidence-based, peer-reviewed scientific journals.
And another thing that is really important to remember is that STIs, sexually transmitted infections, do spread quite easily through this practice. This includes things like gonorrhea, HIV, chlamydia, herpes, syphilis, and HPV. And that is because the semen contact with the eyes, mouth, or the mucous membranes is how these infections are transmitted.
The third thing is that in professional pornography, the boundaries and consent are negotiated off camera. So while you're watching something that contains a lot of humiliation and degradation, the person receiving it has already had contractual conversations with everybody involved in that scene to make sure that they're safe, to make sure that they're consenting. So we want to make sure that you're doing those same things with your partner behind the scenes as well. You can still have the role play elements of humiliation, degradation, whatever it is that you're trying to reenact with that person, but you'll do the same thing that they do in porn and have a nice big chat about consent and the do's and don'ts and process first.
These acts and kinks don't happen in a vacuum. I've seen on Pornhub where they actually do the pre-scene consent talks and talk about boundaries and stuff like that. So if it's something that you've never actually seen before, it's worth having a look at those because they can give you some really good tips and ideas around what kind of things you should consider as well.
What we want to point out is that even behind the scenes of pornography, we don't know that consent conversations happen the way that they should. So both Matt and I are big advocates for ethical pornography, knowing that in those spaces, people are actually having the conversations they need to around sexual safety. And that's what we want to advocate for you to do as well. We don't want you to take non-ethical pornography into the real world. We want you to bring the ethical stuff in so that you and your partners are all safe. The next thing is that you need to be using semen barriers. So that's condoms, dental dams, or any type of external film. As we said, STIs are pretty regular in this practice if there's no protection used. So while it's not as sexy to chuck a pair of goggles on.
Says who?
Oh, it's fair. Anybody that likes a little snorkel, you want to be using something that's going to protect exposure to any mucous membranes. That includes your eyes. Everybody needs to be tested beforehand if that is feasible for you, and immediately wash afterwards because it reduces infection risks. It doesn't eliminate them, they're not going to be gone, but it will reduce them. So the how are we going to do this? The thing we want to do first is do a bit of research. So understand, both you and your partner and anybody else involved, what it is you would like to see happen in bukkake. It's really important that you know what you like and what you'd like you to be doing with your partner and what you want them to do to you vice versa, before you go into it. Even using a specific porn video that you've watched as an example can be really helpful in this, to set that out for people who are visual learners.
I was thinking maybe another thing you could do is consider like a role play too. You could talk about what you're into, what you're not into, and sort of act it out first before you really like jump into it.
This is another space where you can also use your imagination, the beautiful fantasy land that lives in your head. And that is for you to go, I am doing this with my partner. We might dirty talk about other people joining us, but that doesn't mean that they will. So you still get to experience the fantasy of what that might be like, but not actually bring it into a real space.
And it's sometimes a little bit more accessible for people too, because organizing 20 people to come over to get tested, to all ensure they're on the same page with boundaries, etc. That's a lot. Whereas if you're with a partner or somebody that you're hooking up with, and you're dirty talking or role playing, you can have as many people as you want. They don't have to get tested or anything like that. And sometimes that little space inside your head can be a whole lot hotter than what reality might be.
If you do, on the very impressive off chance that you manage to get 20 tested people in the same place on the same night at the same time, my God, first of all,
send us a message
amazing.
And tell us how it went.
I actually am more interested in the planning because you sound like you've got great coordination skills. If you manage to do that, the thing you want to be talking about first is whose role is where. So are you taking the role of the person in the middle? Are you going to be the glazed, or are you going to be one of the members around? And how much penetrative sex, how much oral sex is going to be happening here? Is it specifically about being masturbated on? Is it about having sex beforehand? Are you having oral sex? Are other people able to have oral sex? Are you interested in giving head while this happens? There's some porns that depict somebody like providing oral sex to all of the people in the room. So sucking off every single person that's standing around them. Is that something you're interested in? These things are the behind the scenes conversations that you are having before you enact your fantasy. If you're organizing this and it's about you, then there's no wrong answer for what you're going to do. You're basically deciding what your fantasy is. You're communicating it with no shame about what you would like to be doing with your partner. And that's the end of that. So be clear about, are you looking for a dominant or submissive experience? What are other people doing in this space? Is everyone consenting? Is there going to be a theme that you're going to be using? Do we have an idea of the type of bukkake you would like to enact? And will there be foreplay or aftercare involved? So how are you going to manage this space? These are the conversations that do occur in pornography. You're just not seeing them.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, I think, for a lot of people, as we sort of talked about with porn shaping expectations. If this was something that was more regularly viewed by other people, then maybe we would kind of have a more realistic view of porn. Another thing to consider is that you have the right location for where this scene is going to play out. So that means picking somewhere where it's easy to clean up, wash station nearby, ensure that you've got some sort of like sex blanket or waterproof sheet to put down. Provide refreshments, because nobody wants to go to a jerk-off party and have nothing to eat apart from semen. So you could even consider maybe making pineapple-based cocktails or something like that. And super important that if you're going to be shooting lots of loads, make sure you stay hydrated. Eat good food. Eat some celery, eat some watermelon, citrus fruits. That will improve the taste of your load.
This also applies for people who do not walk around with a penis. Drinking water and thinking about your diet is going to help whatever ejaculate, squirt you've got going on. It's going to be more pleasurable for the person who has to wear it across their face for the next 15 minutes if you have taken a little bit of time to make sure that you're hydrated and that you've eaten something for a few days that's going to make you a little bit tastier.
Yeah, be considerate. Think about the person who's going to wear your load or your squirt.
I may never use the word load again in a conversation. I feel like I've used it enough tonight. If there was a word count on the amount of times we've said the word load.
It's the pun that keeps on punning.
There is a variant of gokun, which is where several men will ejaculate into a container and then the receiver drinks it. So it continues to be perpetuating the humiliation and degradation story or the narrative here. What really helped me with that knowledge specifically was the recipe for fake cum.
Tell me more. It sounds like a cooking channel now. Hey, here's the recipe for fake cum.
The Great Porn for Thought Bake Off. So what made me comfortable, a bit more comfortable, because I do have a bit of a weak stomach, and that's on me. That's my problem. It's got nothing to do with the porn. Was finding out that there's actually artificial semen substitutes for some of these actors to consume. So welcome to my baking channel. The recipe is starch, condensed milk, egg whites, cosmetic gels, anything that looks like it would have like a fake semen type of consistency.
I love that word, consistency, when it comes to cum.
Same. But now that we're bringing it up, I don't know that I've ever seen a cum lacking consistency.
I've definitely seen that in some content that I've viewed.
Okay. How did it make you feel?
Confused.
Vulnerable?
Vulnerable. Unsure of my existence and my reality. Well, I'd go for the condensed milk easy. I'd be like, load me up.
For sure. That'd be, if someone was coming at me, 70 loads of condensed milk.
Mate, I'd be in a sugar coma by the end.
Swallowing.
I'd just be sitting there going, I got a meal and a show. It's just like 70 loads of bloody condensed milk. Sounds pretty good.
That's a regular Wednesday. Just me in the fridge squeezing it out of the tube. You may as well just leave me alone. I don't even need the dicks.
When in doubt,
condensed milk. So post nut peer support.
Do you know the video that I watched for research purposes?
Was it woman swallows 70 loads of semen? Because that's what I watched. I was reading through the comments and it was like, one of these dudes has yellow semen. Is he okay?
I'm concerned for his health.
Hell yeah. And I was like,
that's a good one.
But underneath it, someone was like, just here to teach you or something. It was going through like the reason someone would have yellow semen. And I was like, that's really cute. But then someone else had written underneath it, urine still in his urethra, and that's why his semen's yellow. And I'm like, no, that's medical misinformation.
Stop it. Stop spreading misinformation. My favorite comment on that video was, this gave me pre-nut clarity.
That's the one I saw too. I loved that. That was great. And there was someone's like, so much cum in her mouth, it's a gene pool.
Yes, I read the exact same one.
She swallowed generations.
Yes.
We watched the same porn. And that's a wrap on today's deep, weird dive into your browser history. Was it good for you? Let us know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Shout out to Frankie and the Woods family for your ongoing contributions. See you next time for your favourite family barbecue background chat show.